Hi, I am your host, Brent Feldman, and we're back with another episode of Mix and Matchbox. Today, I am joined by Clay Staires. He's an authority expert or the authority expert at theleadershipinitiative.com. Hey, Clay, how's it going?
It's going really good, Brent. Good to be with you today.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. I'll jump right in. And this is kind of in relation to that title. What maybe is it about your title of authority expert that resonates with you, or your background, and what you do for the people you serve.
Yeah, thank you. Great question, Brent. My business, the Leadership Initiative, we are a business coaching firm, and we work with small business owners all over the country. And our ideal client is kind of our average client is pretty much they're all by themselves, got the business all by themselves, or maybe they're up to 20 employees, somewhere in there. And we do have a couple clients that are bigger than that, but usually our average is right in there. And they have found that classic where they're going, man, either the business is doing great and their success is crushing them, so it's like, oh, business is great, I hate my life type of thing. Or they're going, how do I get this business off the ground?
Hmm.
I need more leads. I've got a great skill. People like what I do. I just don't know how to get it off the ground, or I don't know how to get it to the next level. So when you are asking questions, so often we ask those questions around the Thanksgiving table, to Cousin Eddie. What do you think I should do? And Cousin Eddie has all kinds of ideas. He's never built a business, never done any of that, but he's got all kinds of advice for us. And unfortunately, that's usually what happens is as business owners, we're kind of out there by ourselves. We're pioneers. We're kind of wondering, what do I do? Should I try this? Should I try that? And then we get that rando email saying, oh, you want to increase your leads? Pay me money type of thing. And we don't know, should we try it? And, Brent, I did have one client that they literally advertised in a high school newspaper,
Oh,
and it's just, that's probably not the best spot to be advertising, but their rationale was, well, I just want to get my name out there. It's like, okay, we can help here. All right, we can help. There are better ways to do this. So again, the idea, Brent, is when we are seeking help, we're out there looking for help. Uh, we want to find somebody that has actually been where we want to go. It's like, I use this analogy a lot. We're looking for a tour guide
mhm.
versus a travel agent. The tour guide has actually been there. They know the path to get there. They know when you need to do the scenic outlook, take a moment, experience the journey. Whereas a travel agent has never been there, but man, they've got a great brochure,
Mhm.
and they can give you the brochure and they can say, you're going to love it. But they can't really give you any advice on what the journey is going to be like and what the nuances are going to be. So the authority expert, that idea is just saying, I've been there. I've been where you're wanting to go. And I also kept track of the path, and I can help you get there.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I like some of the words that you're using there. Yeah, definitely. As far as like like being a pioneer, there are a lot of people that are just kind of going out on their own and, yeah, exploring the West. I don't know. It can be a real journey, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
and definitely there's tour guides, and yeah, and then there's travel agents. So that's great. It's interesting. You've gone from being a science teacher to a motivational speaker, and I know some stuff in between, even now that you've got some
Uh-huh.
updates. But how has this whole journey shaped you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was a high school science teacher and coach for 15 years, and I loved that. I really enjoyed the interaction. I think that's where I grew up in a teaching mentoring family. You know, a lot of leaders in my family. I'm the youngest of four. So I kind of grew up in that environment. But it was when I actually started teaching in the classroom that my teaching, coaching, training, inspiring, developing, all of that really got honed. And I like sharpened my craft in that furnace, if you will. But catch this, Brent. I'm sure that several of your listeners will know what I'm talking about. Is that you reach this point, you get to a point in your life where things are going well. It's not that things are bad, but there's just this thing inside of you, this voice inside of you that's going, there's more to me than I have accessed yet. I haven't fully accessed what's inside of me. And I began to feel that as a school teacher. And I realized this job, this vehicle that I'm in, is not going to get me to that extra stuff inside of me. I kind of tapped out here. So I shifted, I changed industries, redefined everything, and left teaching. Of course, many of the other teachers are going, Clay, you're crazy. You can't leave. You got 15 years. You got to stay in the boat. And I'm going, guys, I got to go. And so I left teaching and took over as the CEO of a struggling nonprofit at that time. They were, it was a Christian summer camp here in Oklahoma. It was actually the nonprofit that my mom and dad, Don and Shirley Staires, started back in 1972. And so it was like, the youngest son returns home to take over the family business type of classic story. And man, we were hurting. We were in a bad spot. But now this was where my teaching, training, developing, leading, now I had to use those skills at a whole new level. I had to use those skills now, not to just teach, but to actually begin to step into that leading and inspiring and having a path and coming into a struggling nonprofit that had been going for about 30 years at that point and changing direction. You can imagine some of the freakout that people experience when I began to change direction. But after 10 years of doing that, we got everything back on track. We began to win awards and begin to get recognized. But then, Brent, here it was again. There's more to me than I've accessed, So it's like, and this job is not going to allow me to tap into that extra. So I made another shift, jumped out of the industry, and that's when I started the Leadership Initiative back in 2012. And now this vehicle gave me the opportunity to really explore my teaching, training, developing, mentoring, speaking, and leading in a whole new level. As many of your listeners, I'm sure, understand, when you start that business on your own, here we go. Now it's like that gate opens and you're on the back of a bull, and it's you just hold on as long as you can. And so I got a business coach really quickly, and to help me with that path, because I had a skill and I knew I was good at a skill, but I didn't know how to build the business around that skill. And so I had a business coach that helped me put together tools and helped me know how to think, if that makes sense. And because what I had done so far was not going to be enough to get me to where I wanted to be, which was a successful business owner that not only had financial freedom, but also had time freedom. And so back in 2012, we started the Leadership Initiative. I built the business on the back of a lot of phone calls and a lot of speaking events. Traveled all over the country speaking, motivational speaking, as well as leadership speaking and business management speaking, and had a lot of fun doing that. But so fast forward to 2020, another 8-10 years, and here I am again going, I think there's more. I think there's more that we can do. And the great thing was, Brent, is that my business, I had built my business in a way that it actually provided me not only financial freedom, but it provided me time freedom. I didn't have to show up at my business every day for it to be successful. So I had this time freedom, and it was right at this time with COVID going on and all the craziness around COVID. And my business coach looked at me and said, Clay, I think you need to run for office. And it's like, yes, I do. I will run and I will win. And here we go. So now I'm actually sitting in my office at the Oklahoma State Capitol. I'm part of the House of Representatives here. I got elected back in 2022. I've just finished my first full term, and I'm getting ready to kick in the campaign to run for another term.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, so it's that listening to the voice and following that voice that has led to a greater and greater fulfillment. I easily could have stayed at teaching and enjoyed teaching, but the fulfillment wouldn't have been there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people that the job was very fulfilling for a time, but now they've been there too long and it's no longer fulfilling. And over time, that can lead to some real frustration and disconnect in the workplace. And I wanted to be careful not to do that. So that's been my experience of expanding. I call it, I've been expanding my capacity to process greater complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we help all of our business owners do through the leadership initiative is a lot of times it's just your responsibility is so much bigger than your capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get into this place called freakout, and that's a tough place to live.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But, kudos, definitely for listening and responding multiple times to that voice inside your head that tells you to, kind of make a change and kind of push yourself forward. And then also kudos also to the bravery of jumping into any family, enterprise, organization, business. Yeah, that is, that can be challenging, but that's cool that you took the leap too. I like that you have a book that's titled Just Don't Suck. Great title. Good life advice.
Just don't suck. Yeah. It like needs on the cover. It needs me pointing. Just don't suck.
Exactly. I know. I feel like everybody needs to hear that every once in a while. But what are some of those key traits on both sides of the hiring process that that you kind of coach people on in order to quote unquote not suck?
Yeah. Again, great question. This book came about. I was actually teaching a college class in business and business leadership in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there was one of the evenings where I was speaking. I was standing at the whiteboard, and the idea came to me. You guys give me a list of characteristics that my generation or the generation that's out there in the workforce that's going to be hiring you. What are some adjectives that they use to describe your generation? How do they describe you? And immediately they started out with lazy, entitled, don't want to work hard, want to stay at home. They just went on. I didn't ask them to give me negative characteristics. I just said, give me some characteristics. So I'm writing these down on the whiteboard as they're talking. And before long, I had, 15, 20 different very negative characteristics. And in my head, I was realizing this is your competition. Guys, when you graduate and go out into the workforce, this is what people expect from you. And so if you can just not suck, you could really stand out amongst the competition. So I turned around, and that's what I told them. I said, guys, this is your competition. You just gotta not suck, And by the end of that class, people were chanting, "Just don't suck, just don't suck," And so, Brent, what's interesting about the book is that it's not rocket science. It's not like, oh wow, I've never heard that you should actually smile and shake somebody's hand when you meet them. Wow, what a concept. It's not rocket science, but it's just being aware that so few people actually do these moves. And if you just do the moves, they work every single time. And I talk quite a bit in the book about what is it that business owners, and I'm primarily talking about small business owners. I'm not talking about big corporate. That's a whole other animal. But small business owners, what they are looking for, and it's just very basic things. Can you show up on time consistently? Can you have energy? Can you produce results? Those are some of the key things: energy, production, consistency. And if you can do that, you can so stand out in front of a crowd. You can dominate in interviews. My daughter, actually, when she graduated from college, this was hilarious. She did one interview out of college, one interview in big corporate America, and they hired her on the spot. And they said, we have never had anybody in an interview say the things like you have said and actually ask us questions. We've never had that. And she goes, well, my dad's been teaching me for a long time on these things. And so she got the job on the spot. And whereas so many times I think that those people that are coming out of the education world and into the workforce, we can be really intimidated by everybody else is going to be so awesome, And Brent, I just want your listeners to know, if you're in this spot, they aren't. Most people suck. All right. And so all you got to do is just these few moves to really set yourself apart. It's a fun book. I have a lot of fun with that phrase throughout the book. And, be careful not to do this. If you do this, you just might suck, kind of thing. And so it's a great book to give to somebody that's graduating. And Brent, all of my clients use it as part of their onboarding. When they are bringing in new employees, Just Don't Suck is now a requirement reading for each of their new employees, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
That sounds great. Yeah. Wonderful, because like people just need that kind of brass tacks advice, like sometimes it is. People have a tendency to overcomplicate it. And I definitely know for a lot of kids getting out of school, there's a lot of pressure, of like, what's your first job?
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, yeah, it's just like, it's not that hard. People want a good quality, hardworking employee, but there's a lot of people that tend to self-sabotage and just, don't know what they're doing or don't know how to put the right pieces together. And it's just like, it could be a lot easier. So I appreciate your encouragement to all kids of just don't suck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just, it's really pretty simple. Just don't suck.
Yeah.
And there's even a lot of legislators here at the Capitol now that have found out that I have this book. They've bought the book, and now that's kind of a phrase that's going around the Capitol. Do you suck? We're trying to not suck here.
Oh, wow. If that makes it around the government as a whole, gosh, it could change the world. You encourage financial savviness for business owners, and I appreciate that, because like I feel like that's really important of just simple things of being frugal and like not kind of going too crazy. Are there common mistakes that you see with like business owners around financial savviness, or is it like a holistic problem with them not being aware of the elements that could lead to their financial success or their financial detriment?
Yeah, these are great questions, Brent. Thanks for bringing these up. Yeah, man, probably the biggest issue that I've seen, and again, we've been going since 2012, hundreds of clients that we have worked with across the country, small businesses to middle-sized businesses. And what I found over and over and over, even businesses that are $10 to $20 million companies, business owners just don't know their numbers. They're not tracking their numbers. My accountant takes care of that. Like, okay, that's fine. But I promise you, your accountant is not going to look at your numbers the way you're going to look at your numbers. And they're probably going to have different suggestions than you would have. And so very early on in our coaching program, we introduce our clients to what we call their income and expense report. Everybody wants to go, well, I use QuickBooks. Clay, it's QuickBooks or Quicken or what platforms? It's like, how about a spreadsheet? Let's just start there. So we just use straight, very simple spreadsheet to keep track of what money came in and what money went out. Me and Brent, we've had multiple clients. We even did the math one time, but we've had multiple clients that just looking at their income and expense for the first time. We have, let's see, this, I think this was back in 2019, 2020. We actually looked at several of our clients that we had done this with, and we were saving our clients each month. We were saving our clients anywhere from $2,000 to $18,000 a month.
Wow.
Just because they were looking at their numbers. They are not business savvy, they just are looking at their numbers for the first time. And they're going, wait a minute, I'm still paying for that? I haven't used that for the last 2 years. Yeah, it's time to go stop that automatic withdrawal type of thing. That's so common. And so if we're talking about being financially savvy, that I am now better than anybody else, it's not necessarily about that. It's just realizing where we need to be working. What do I need to focus on? And so that's a huge help for folks. In fact, that's probably one of the biggest testimonials we have from our clients is, I've never been so aware of my numbers. And, you can get into all the psychology of it, and I'm not a psychologist and I don't even play one on TV, but the idea is that so many times we tend to not pay attention to the things that we're afraid of, and I don't know my numbers because I don't want to know my numbers. And so there can be some emotional stuff to work through. And again, we help our clients work through those emotions and try to make the financials not be so scary. And it has been a huge help for business owners.
That's awesome. That leads really well right into probably the next question. So I appreciate your segue. That helps. There was a term that I was reading, within your profile about, being a business master, and that really stuck out to me. And so, how do you qualify this, and how do you go about teaching it? And another term that I'm really curious about, management dragons.
Ooh, yes, love the management dragons. Got a book coming out on the 5 management dragons, which will be fun. But so again, when we talk about being a business master, I want to be careful here. It doesn't mean you're the best there ever was, or the best there ever will be in business. It just means as a business master, you're able to recognize where your business is weak, and you know the tool, you have the tool, and you know how to use the tool to strengthen the company in that area. And Brent, again, that's usually where most business owners are in the dark. They know their skill, they know their talent, they know their product really, really well, or their service, but they don't know the rest of the story that makes up a sound, successful business, sustainable business. And so they're just doing the best they can, but they don't recognize where their company is weak, number one. And number two, they don't know what the tools are to strengthen it. And number three, because they don't know what the tools are, they don't know how to implement the fix. And so that is the great value of having a business coach. Again, whether it's somebody like me or whether there's somebody else. I mean, some people will learn it from a book. They are that good at, I can take the book and I can implement it. Most of us subhumans actually need more than just a book or a video. We actually need some human that's walking along the path with us to hold us accountable. And again, there are some people that can just read a book, watch a video, and they got it and they can implement. But again, most humans actually need them. They need that person that can walk down the path with them, that tour guide, as
Yeah.
we were talking about, you know. And so, for a big piece of this business growth is management. And unfortunately, most business owners, not all, but most, okay. And when I say most, I mean all, but not all, but it really is all. Yeah. Most business owners, they're great workers, you know, and they're not afraid of the work.
Mm-hmm.
They're not afraid to work hard. But the thing is where they're weak is in management.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is as their company grows, it's all on their back. And so now, you know, we ask business owners all the time. So, you know, how many hats would you say you're wearing? They're going, oh, Clay, that's 1,000 hats. I'm doing everything. It's like, I get that. But the idea is we need to learn how to be better managers. So as our success grows, it doesn't crush us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the management dragons come in, Brent. I've found over and over, you know, from these last 12 years working with business owners, that there really are five. There's five primary areas that you need to learn how to manage. And you need to get better and better at each of those areas as your responsibility grows. And they build on each other. It's kind of like a video game. On the first level, if you don't conquer that first level, good luck. You're screwed. The others are going to kill you, you know? So I call them management dragons because they're, in my world, the entrepreneur is the knight in shining armor, and the world and all the circumstances are the dragons that are trying to kill you. And so we've got to go out there every day and slay dragons, you know? And so the first management dragon is your emotions, learning how to manage your emotions. And you can imagine if you can't manage those emotions, or to the limit that you can manage your emotions, that's about as far as you're going to be able to take your business, you know?
Yep.
And so, but once you get a little, you don't have to be perfect at it, but once you get better at that, now you'll be able to move to the next thing, which is manage your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't manage time, I promise you there's an emotional reason why you can't manage time. It always comes because you've heard it before, Brent. So how are things going? Oh, Glass, I mean, crazy busy. There's always these emotional words that go before busy. You know, it's just overwhelmed. Oh man, it's just been wild. Big week's been wild in their face and everything. It's talked about how emotionally it's been. So, but once you begin to learn the tool to learn how to manage your time is very simple. It's called a calendar. Oh, hey, again, slow down, Clay. So what kind of calendar should I use? Should I use, you know, like, I don't care. It's just got to be a calendar. We've got to block your time. But that's the weapon that we use. Well, Clay, I can't stick to it. I know, because you're emotional. Bam. And here we go. And then the next thing, once you're able to manage your time, now you can begin to work on the third one, which is manage your work. But if you can't manage your time, you're never going to be able to manage your work. And so the tool that we use to help you manage your work is called, again, here it comes, a to-do list. Whoa, there it is. Again, now, Clay, should I get some, you know, special app on my phone? It's like, no, it's called just a to-do list. You know, we just got to have a to-do list. Now that we're able to manage our work because we can manage our time because we're not so emotional all the time, now we actually have the capacity to be able to manage money. Now we can manage the money that's coming in and going out of our company. And our tool there, I've already talked about, is the income and expense. To slay that dragon. And then finally, the fifth one is, now that we've been able to manage those other things, now it's time to begin to manage people. And, you know, Brent, what do you think is the very first thing that you're going to have to do when you start managing people? What are you going to have to help them manage? Their emotions. And here we go, you know, and so, and it's just a cycle. So if you haven't learned how to slay that dragon, that emotional dragon, then what's going to happen over time? Your office is going to be a drama fest. It's going to be Psychoville and you're the mayor. And it's just trying to keep track of everybody. And that's just exhausting. So
Yeah.
those are the 5 things that we need to learn how to manage. And again, as a business coach, we help you with each of those tools. We help you learn those tools. We help you walk through that montage in every great movie where Rocky's working the punching bag and all that. We help you hone all of that so you can actually step into the ring with Mr. T and knock him out, type of thing. Wow, I just dated myself. I went back to Rocky 3. Sorry about that.
No, that's all good. As a kid, I was a giant Mr. T fan, so that hits at least with me. Yeah,
Yeah.
You got me. We've had a number of sales leaders on the podcast, and I see that a topic of yours that you like to dive into is prospects to profits. Are you usually helping with the pipeline, the sales process, closing, value, pricing? Where do you see the most consultation and and how do you sort of coach the people you deal with?
Yeah, this is great. Our coaching path, it's a linear coaching path. And we don't just come in and say, hey, we're going to help you with your marketing. It's definitely part of the path, but it's not all of the path. And so at claystaires.com, you can see this path that we have, but it's a linear coaching path, like 12 steps. It's a 12-step program. I just put that together. There you go.
I was just about to say, and stairs, as you say that. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. And I do that a lot. All of my steps, it's always the stair step to this, stair steps to that. And, but yeah, so along the path, we have a part of the path along the path is our branding and our marketing and our sales. Those are 3 steps that go in order: branding, marketing, and sales. And so first of all, if we're going to drive traffic to us, we want to make sure that when people see us, wherever they see us, it needs to be professional. It needs to be hot. And it needs to look better than, the next, it needs to look better than our competitor. Okay. So that's our branding. And once we have our branding down, which we do with all of our clients, and we actually help them put all that together. We don't say, you need to go out and find someone to do this for you. No, we do that for you all in-house. And then that moves us to the marketing piece. We call it your 3-legged marketing stool. And to get that phone ringing, to begin building your leads. And again, depending upon the business, these 3 legs can look different. I even had one gal, she was a rural attorney, and her ideal client was the older farmer, literally in overalls, okay? Literally in overalls. And what they wanted to do was estate planning. So that's her ideal client. So guess what her marketing stool ended up being? Billboards and the phone book, the literal yellow pages in the phone book. Because going online, you don't see a lot of the older farmers in overalls being, hey, I think I'm going to Google something. They're not for sure what that is. But we just want to make sure that each of our clients they get in front of their ideal and likely buyer. It's not rocket science. I've talked to some other marketing companies and stuff like that, and they can tend to make it like it's really difficult. And it's not. We just need to know who your ideal and likely buyer is and where do they hang out? What do they look at? What do they see? And we want to get in front of them. And now that we're getting the phone to ring, the next step is now we've got to close those deals. We've got to go from a hot lead to a customer that's actually handing us money for a transaction. And so we walk down that path. And with some people, again, we start talking about scripting and walking through a script. And Clay, I don't want to use a script. It's like, I totally get it. But if you don't want to be the one that is always doing the sales, then you're going to have to train somebody else. And if you don't write a script, then you'll never be able to reproduce yourself. You'll have somebody else. Yeah, I'm a sales whiz. I'm a sales guru. You want to hire me? I'm coming in. I'm closing deals. And they come in and you don't even know what they're doing. You don't know what they're saying. And all of a sudden you're paying them money and there's no production. And it can be really frustrating. So again, in our coaching path, we put together all of those tools for you. And we also provide you a human that helps you develop those, helps you track those, helps you listen to those phone calls so you can know what needs to change. We provide that human to bring accountability and allows you on a weekly basis to ask all those questions.
That's wonderful.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, really just equipping, business owners with those tools. And, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're simple, but you got to put those things in front of them. And actually what I also appreciate too is like, and I guess this is kind of like, the last dragon, but it's the managing people, but, talk about, nurturing employee growth. And I appreciate that. And we've, definitely done some stuff on the podcast about, that, and also talked about it, my business partner and I. But what's interesting, to us, and I think maybe it's interesting, but it's my business partner and I are usually looking for or trying to hire on grit. Just as much as like we understand that there are skills in place, people have to be able to do the job. Grit is something that we like to say is a trait that we look for. Sometimes it's hard to qualify or quantify the amount of grit somebody has. But it's definitely something that we feel like, as we identify, we're like, ooh, they can dig in. They know what, they seem like they can do it. What are your thoughts on that term as something to look for?
Yeah, man, I love it. And we use that same type of thing in my company. Jack Welch, you may be familiar with Jack Welch. He was the CEO of General Electric. He grew that company that had already been a behemoth company. He grew it 4,000% under his management. And so he's got a book out there called Winning. And I would suggest if anybody's looking for management, right now, get that book. Here in about 6 more months, I'll have a book out. It's my follow-up to Just Don't Suck. This is a management book. It's called Don't Be a Dick. All right. And so it's a fun one, too.
That's great.
I did have to get permission from my mom to have both of these titles out there connected to my name. But yeah, so Jack Welch uses the term edge rather than grit. He says we're looking for edge. And it's simply being able to do the hard thing. Mm-hmm. It's being able to continue to produce results when it's hard. And you're right. That is a very important quality. And I'll let you know, too, it can be something that in your interview process, I want to give people an actual question that you can ask people. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can ask folks, tell me about a time where you had to overcome something really hard to produce something really big. And their answer will reveal to you what they have overcome. And again, because you're in the business, what they're going to have to overcome. Mm-hmm. Maybe the biggest thing they're going to have to overcome is you as their boss. What their struggles are going to be and how hard it's going to be. And so they're going to tell you, well, this is what I've had to overcome. And this is how it went. What was hard about that? And they'll tell you. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. And so once they give you that answer, now you can use that answer to know, okay, number one, for them, that was a really hard thing, but they have no idea what they're getting ready to step into in my company. So I don't know that they'll be able to handle something like that. Or you can be thinking, I know I'm going to have to do a lot of coaching with them to help them learn how to overcome these struggles, Yeah. Or you'll hear from them something, you'll go, wow, this person, if they could overcome that, they can overcome anything I'm going to throw at them.
Yeah.
in this market, anything this market's going to, and it also gives you something that you can continue to point back to when they go, this is hard, I can't do it. You can go, no, remember, you've overcome this. If you could overcome that, you can overcome that.
Absolutely.
And so that grit, that edge, those are all very, very important, that people, not only are you good, but you are good under pressure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, as the overview of your book Grow notes, I heard you say it earlier, to a response to, one of the questions here, but people can be in freak out mode. and and how do you recognize it, and how, and maybe this relates a little bit to, helping people push back, against it, or, get over it,
Yeah.
as you mentioned in kind of like the, the response to the last question here. But yeah, how do you get people to overcome being in freak out mode?
Yeah, again, great question. And this is something that is so common. I mean, we say freak out mode, and business owners immediately, they know what you're talking about, freak out mode. And I don't think it's rocket science to figure out freak out mode. Okay. And I even feel very confident that I know where freak out mode comes from. And the idea is, if I can use concentric circles here, okay, I do this a lot. And I do this in my book, Grow. All right. I talk about concentric circles. And usually what happens is, let's just say this is my capacity. Okay. It's my emotional, mental, financial, whatever. It's my capacity. But the responsibilities that I've taken on are out here. So between my capacity and my responsibility, I call that space freak out mode, because I don't have the capacity to meet the responsibility. And what most humans do, it's very common, Brent, what most humans do is they try to reduce the responsibility. And your listeners may be familiar with these phrases. I just need things to slow down. I just need to take a break. I really am looking forward to the slow season in my company so that I can take a rest. But what all of those phrases are, looking at the responsibility and trying to lessen the responsibility to fit the capacity. I want to look at it the other way. And my life has proven that that's how I want to live my life. I don't want to reduce the responsibility. I want to expand my capacity. Expand that capacity to process greater complexity. And so again, with our coaching, this is a weekly thing that we tap into with each of our clients, because we give homework each week. Here's the next step. Here's what you need to do. We get together the following week. Did you do your homework? Oh, Clay, you wouldn't believe how crazy, blah, blah, blah. And we go, okay, we need to increase that capacity, or else when we get your phone ringing, it's going to freak you out.
Yeah.
When you build your company from $150,000 to $3 million revenue, it's going to completely break you and could ruin your marriage. You could end up losing your house. You could end up wounding relationships in your family. And okay, all those are hypothetical, right? Maybe not. Okay, but that can happen. Because all of a sudden your responsibility is way out here, but your capacity didn't grow along with it. So it's all of these tools that we give to our clients that helps them expand their capacity.
That's cool.
And that's a huge thing. I go into much more detail in my book, Grow. And Grow and Just Don't Suck, those are on Amazon.com. And just type in Clay Staires books and you'll see them pop up.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
So I've got just a couple of questions left, but this one is more directed towards you as opposed to kind of what you do for others. And, and it's interesting. I know that there's probably a lot of things that you go through as you write one of these books. You're plotting out things from your, kind of your the things that you've done. This is definitely playing off of things that, the expertise you've gained through your insight through other businesses. But what sort of personal growth do you think you've had through maybe writing both of these books?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Brent, I both Grow and Just Don't Suck. Both of those books, 90% of those books came straight out of my journals.
Mm.
I've been journaling since 1988, and I'm literally in the middle of my 50th journal right now. And so I remember one time when I was looking to start my business, and I had enough self-awareness to where I was going, okay, I don't know how to run a business. I know how to do a skill. I have done that in teaching and in running the nonprofit. I knew how to do a skill, and I had won awards at doing the skill, but I didn't know how to build that business around it. So I remember getting together with a very successful business owner that I looked up to and I admired. And I asked him over coffee one morning, how did you do it? How did you get to where you are? And his answer pissed me off. Oh, so frustrating, Brent, because he just looked at me and goes, Clay, just a lot of luck. It's just a lot of luck and a lot of blessings from the good Lord. And I literally wanted to reach over and slap him. All right. Because he had reached a level of success, but Brent, he didn't keep track of the past. And so he didn't know how he got there, So for me, my journaling has always been just keeping track of the past. And again, in my book, Grow, I've got a whole chapter, a whole appendix in the back talking about journaling. And, everybody gets this idea of I got to journal every single day. And it's like, no, that's crap. Don't do that, But I talk quite a bit about that in Grow. But when it comes to personal growth, it's just like being a business owner and not tracking your numbers. If you don't track your personal growth and grow your capacity in this self-awareness, then what's going to happen is your business will only be able to grow as far as you grow. And where you stop, for whatever reason, where you stop, your business won't be able to go much further. And if it does go much further, like we were talking about, it'll crush you. Mm-hmm. And you'll hate your life and you'll begin hating your business. But the thing is, you've probably been using that money to pay for your life, so you can't stop your business, because you probably can't stop your business and go find a job getting paid the same amount. And so you're in that place where you feel stuck. And usually that is probably the biggest word with business owners that brings them to me, Brent, is Clay, I'm stuck. Help me get unstuck. And so Grow, Just Don't Suck. I also did a whole series of training books. My wife and I started a discipleship training school when we were at the nonprofit. So I've got a whole curriculum, and that's just me putting out on paper my personal growth. And so writing a book is a great way to track your growth. And it is funny because I'm actually reading back through my journals right now. I'm back in, I think, number 34. I was reading this morning a little bit, and you're just going, I was an idiot. I was not, because you've grown and you look back and you go, man, I was so not thinking right, Yeah. And it's just a great way to become more self-aware. And again, doesn't make you perfect. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes at all. It just helps you keep track of those mistakes so you don't keep making them, hopefully.
Definitely. The awareness is certainly key. And I feel like that's good encouragement to anybody of just, I having that journal or, tracking the journey is, informative. And you may look back at it and be sad about, how many, mistakes you were making, or you're like, wow, I would never do that again. But it's cool. And it's always what they say. It's about the journey. It's not about, the end.
Yeah. Right. And it's keeping track of that journey. So now I have business owners from all over the country saying, Clay, how do I get there? And I'm able to say, I've got the path. I know the steps because I kept track of the steps. I left the breadcrumbs so I know how to go back to where you are and help you come forward and help you get where you want to be.
Oh,
So
well,
that's one of the very unique things about the leadership initiative, is that we are all tour guides. We're
yeah.
all tour guides.
Wow, that actually that helps roll into this last question so well, because you mentioned the breadcrumbs, and this may not be it, but I'm curious, after training Fortune 500 companies and being like a top motivational speaker, what is the thing that brings you the most joy in speaking?
Man, I'm so glad you're asking this question. Um, the joy and fulfillment. Being a speaker, one thing I learned about myself, going back to what have I learned in my personal journey and everything. Uh, One thing I discovered about speaking is I really enjoy speaking. I really enjoy being in front of people. I get energized by it. And after a speaking gig, it may take me 2-3 hours to come down after it. I mean, I'm jazzed. Woohoo! And but when I come down, I mean, I will crash heavy. But I discovered that the the fulfillment and the joy for me is in the mentoring. It's actually in locking arms and walking down the path together with a business owner and helping them experience the journey. That's where I get my most joy and most fulfillment. So after being a speaker for 4 years, I discovered, this really isn't doing it for me, because I'm just rolling in and I'm just dropping bombs on people for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I leave. And there's no engagement. There's no long-term relationship. There's no mentoring involved. It's just strictly teaching. And it's teaching one time, one shot. And so for me, I realized that, okay, this part of my business is not going to lead to fulfillment for me. So I need to look to expand my business, because if I stay here, I'm going to be good. People are going to love it. I'm going to win awards, but I'm not going to be fulfilled. And my business, Brent, this is huge. My business and your business and all of the people that are listening, all of your listeners, your business exists to serve you. That's why your business is here. It's not to serve your employees. It's not even to serve all of your customers and clients. Your business is here to serve you. So where is it you're wanting to go, and how can we design your business to help you get there? That's a huge, huge piece. And your business will change and it'll morph over time. Just like when I started doing the speaking, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it for a season, but then it was time to expand and do some other things. So now I do one speaking gig each year, and it's the same gig I've been doing for 9 years. I love it. It's a great vacation, and but I only do one speaking gig a year now.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I mean, now, based on the chair behind you, you've got some other priorities
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah. I've got some other things going on here. Yeah, and I love this. It's really interesting, Brent. Now that you said that, I've been here for 2 years, so I'm just finishing my freshman year, but I'm still trying to figure out, where is my teaching, training, developing, mentoring, leading? Where is that going to fit here at the Capitol? I'm still discovering that right now. My circle has expanded. And so now I'm trying to get my capacity to catch up to that circle. So yes, there is a little bit of freakout. It's not like you don't just fix that once. If you continue growing, you'll experience these seasons, but they become more and more familiar. And the freakout is less and less because it's familiar. It doesn't mean that, oh, it's no big deal. Oh, it's a big deal. It's just familiar.
Yeah, definitely. But, I guess, yeah, the lucky thing is you're now, yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, familiar, and you're equipped with the tools in which to approach it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm able to recognize, here's where there's a weakness. I know the tool that I need and I know how to implement it. And I still have my business coach. All right. For 12 years, I still meet with him once a week. I still have him to help me answer those questions and help me think right. And so again, claystaires.com. All right. That's a great spot to go and find us if you're interested in doing some coaching. You don't want to do some coaching. I get it. That's totally fine. Go get the book. Go over to Amazon and get the book. But give me a call. My cell phone number. Is it okay if I give my cell number?
Please plug. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, bingo. Yeah, my cell phone number, 918-798-0852. 918-798-0852. That's my cell phone number. If you're a business owner and some of this stuff has resonated, shoot me a call, shoot me a text. Say, Clay, I've got a question. I have no problem. Okay. I'm not going to charge you. Just call me and say, Clay, I need some help. I'd be glad to sit down and talk with you and give you some stair steps to help you move from where you are to where you want to be. If you want to do a long-term relationship, we can do that too. Call that phone number. We do a business conference about every other month, 2-day business conference. Use that phone number. Give me a call. Come to our business conference. We talk about our entire path. But those are just some ways to connect. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be a pioneer out there that's tired and worn out. You can get help. I'd be glad to spend some time talking with you or some time walking with you. Ooh, talking and walking. Either way you want to go.
That's awesome. And by the way, a podcast first. I don't think anybody's given their cell phone number, so that's a deeper level of commitment than I've ever heard before, and that's awesome.
You know why I can? Yeah, you know why I can do that, Brent? Because most people suck. Okay, most people suck. Now you're going to prove me wrong because your listeners are actually going to call me and text me. But everybody else, I do this with all of my campaigns. I have my cell phone number for all of my constituents. Nobody. I got like 7 people that text me, and that's it, out of 40,000. So again, doesn't make them wrong or bad. It just means I know that there's only going to be a few that are able to make it. And you even mentioned it a little bit ago. They're going to have the courage to take that step, As hard as it may be right now, as frustrating as it may be, you got to take the step. You got to take the step. Now I'm in an altar call. Just come right on down. Yeah, with a bus or in a group, they'll wait. Just come on down. We're going to sing this song one more time. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm serious, Clay. You have a lot of wonderful advice and a lot of simple brass tacks recommendations for business owners that I feel are extraordinarily helpful. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast and and sharing that with everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, Brent. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, this has been another episode of Mix and Matchbox. I am your host, Brent Feldman. We'll be back soon with more content. Please like and subscribe. Thanks.